So just in time. So I'll start asking you if someone kind of resonates with the term for the mission, knows it, already heard of it. Okay, so I'm presenting a definition. Probably you know what is it, but probably you call it differently. So in Italy in particular, we talk about for mission, intending the vocation, the function of university of generating impact on society that can be cultural impact, economic impact, social impact. I'll specify for and with society because for mission can be intended in many ways, can be intended as society must be informed. So let's say I organize a public engagement activities in which I talk about an argument that I think it's a topic that I think it's important for public, as the one, for example, that we heard until now. But the idea is to go over this model and, for example, thinking of the society as let's say, actors that can be also worked with. So I collaborate with my stakeholders and together we plan our further mission activities, but also listen to. So I think that the society as something that university doesn't know and that in some kind of way must be absorbed as, let's say, tacit knowledge. So something that communities of practice produce and it's of value for the university. And generally, further mission activities tends to be multidisciplinary, as real-world problems, as we saw, are generally complex. So we need some many types of knowledge to work together. And obviously, it implies a responsible approach. So the idea that universities should care about on this kind of problem. So I put some example of activities. Probably you know what technology transfers, of course. Public engagement also is very common. In Italy, we do a lot of further mission on cultural heritage because we have a lot of important museums, but also open science, let's say. So the fact that if I do our scientific research, it is important for all of stakeholders to access it for free, for example. So very fast on my research design, the intention was to capture synergies and issues in the relationship between the three missions. So teaching, research, and further mission. It was, as you can see, it was a mixed methods design. So there was a first exploratory study that was qualitative, and I administered semi-structured interviews. In this case, I had 27 respondents. And then there was a second study that was a quantitative study with semi-structured questionnaires. And in that case, I had 304 respondents. So here I will present only the findings that concern collaboration inside academic collaboration, as it turned out to be a key element, as the faculty members stated that without inside academia collaboration, it would be impossible for them to conduct further mission activity. So it is kind of a precondition to further mission. Let's say you can see here some quotes from the interview. So for example, without collaboration, I would have zero activity of further mission right now, or it is important to have a working group that divides tasks between members, etc. So the kind of beneficial effects I will talk about are different based on the kind of collaboration that it was activated inside academia. So you can see that as I wrote here, it will be between peers So there's me, there's my colleague, and we have the kind of the same role. So we are two PhD students, or we have two associate professors, let's say, or senior and junior faculty members, as I am a PhD student and I collaborate for my formation activities with an associate professor, let's say, or also, as said before, faculty members and students. So the idea that I involve my students in my formation activities. So, as to peer-to-peer examples, it must also be said that also it's a value the fact that many respondents talked about the fact that they met new colleagues during formation activities. So I think that expanding your academic networking it's a value in itself. But with both my new colleagues and also my acquainted colleagues, for formation, I can explore some topic in a better way, because maybe I am an engineer and my colleague is a sociologist. So we put our knowledge together and we can explore better some kind of topic. But something that is very important nowadays, the fact that our collaboration can have as a product the fact that we participate in for international grants. That in many cases, the fact that interdisciplinary connection are required. So this emerged as a very important element. As you can see in the quote, I collaborate with the energy department because I met some of these professors during my formation activities. As for junior-senior collaboration, if we think about junior faculty members as PhD students, but also research fellows, what they have is generally more time, because maybe they have less teaching burdens, less teaching activities, less also institutional roles, as I don't know, head of a department, etc. But they have many faculty life educational needs, as they have to get acquainted with the various elements of what means to be a professor, let's say. And something else that junior faculty members tend to have is some skills that generally depend on their the generation they belong. They generally are effective communication skills, because maybe they communicate on YouTube, they create videos in which you don't only create the video, but you learn, you kind of learn by yourself how to speak in a way that is effective, that reaches a lot of audiences, etc. But also audio-video equipment. So the fact that I can make, let's say, a kind of professional video, and obviously the social media expertise. From the interviews, that it emerged that the generation gap was intended as a reflective resource, because in some kind of way we bring together the experience of senior faculty members and what it was defined fresh ideas of junior faculty members in the activity. And for senior faculty members, it was possible in some cases to take the tools that junior faculty members show them in the formation activity and bring it in the teaching. So let's say I learn about a particular software, and I think about how can I apply it in my teaching to engage more with the students. But it also some advantages to junior faculty members to also show how they were able to tackle some challenging tasks, because sometimes public engagement projects can be very big, and to have a role in design and supervise this kind of projects can show the senior faculty members that I'm a person that is I can be rely on me, etc., etc. Coming to the students, in some cases, teachers were able to involve students. We're talking about bachelor students, master students in the formation activities. And it was stated that it turned out to be generally an active learning experience, because generally it is outside the walls of the university. So let's say I bring my students of the education course in a school, in a public school, for example, so they can see the environment, they can interact with the kids, etc., etc., etc. It was important for students also to learn a new side of the university, because generally students will only see the teaching. And in this case, it was possible for them to see also the part of the research a bit, but generally also the part of the formation. And it was stated that sometimes this had some kind of effect on the career choices of the students. For example, I'm a chemistry student. I have an experience with the kids in the public engagement activities, and I understand that teaching chemistry to kids is something that is funny for me, but it's something that I would have not known if I didn't do the formation activity. And for senior faculty members, this was useful for reflect to meet students university students in a context that is different from the one of the classroom, of the teaching. It was possible to engage some kind of dialogue and to discuss about the teaching. So I meet my students that are a bit less stressed. It's not an anxious kind of relationship. We can talk more freely, and they can also tell me what they think about my teaching. I like that part. I think that part was a bit more difficult for me, etc. And this was very, very told us very, very interesting, very useful. So here just a little map to sum up what I told you. So also the parts that I put in the clouds, and some other little things. So the fact that generally intra-academic collaboration helped to discover also new research interests. For example, I interact with my colleague and I discover a new part, a new area of research. Also the fact that I can interact, for example, I'm a professor, let's say I'm an associate professor, and in my formation activities, I could interact with research technicians. That generally is a kind of role that there are there are less opportunities to interact with. So the quantitative findings, very, very briefly on this. Here we can see that collaboration emerged as also in greater numbers as important. We can see that only in 22 cases percent collaboration was described as not relevant, as to say, I did my formation, but I didn't collaborate with other colleagues, with other faculty members in my formation. In all the other cases, there was some kind of collaboration. So new colleagues, old colleagues, or both new colleagues and old colleagues. Here we can see that in the great majority of the cases, the academic roles I interact with in my formation is different. So I interact with a research technician, a PhD student, a research fellow. So formation generally emerged as an interdisciplinary, inter-role activity. And here, the yes is the number of people that told that that they learn some new kind of tool from the other roles I interact with. For example, I met students and they transmit me some kind of new tool that can be a theoretical tool, a practical tool, etc. So we can see that it's more than a half. It's almost 70%. So it's not bad. So very fast, some conclusions. We can see that formation proves to be a channel of learning in which all the roles acquire something. So not only seniors to juniors, but also in some kind of reverse mentoring approach, also juniors to seniors, with juniors in any way acquiring something in terms of experience, in terms of orientation toward the future choices. Also, not only for students, but I think also for junior faculty members, etc. So I will, if I also, I have already some time, right? Fine. Okay. So I'll integrate also with the research limits of validity. I think that the greatest limit of validity was in the selection of the sample, as both in the questionnaires and in for the interviews, all the people that respond to the questionnaire or were respond to the interviews were people that were very, very involved in information. So my point is I could not reach faculty members who weren't interested in information. So I think it's the reason why the numbers are so high, because generally if I do formation, it's difficult. I do it in a middle way. Generally, if I do it in big, let's say, we say in grande in Italy. So it means I do it with much effort, with much energy, etc. So I think that if I could reach more people, more faculty members who aren't very involved, aren't very active in formation, I think the numbers would be very, very, very much slower. Thank you. So, thank you.